Hi, Dobrocho dnia. Laskawo prosimy do Ukrainian. Mnie zwati Kimberly Roback. I hope I did not mess that up. I am working hard on it, so hopefully soon. Today I am happy to be here in the afternoon. It is Sunday, July 24th here on the East Coast of the United States. I wanted to start today with first an observational question from my ever inquisitive son, which was, what is this symbol and what does it mean? So I knew it was a coat of arms. I wasn't quite sure where it came from or what it meant, so I looked it up, and it seems to be the small coat of arms, an emblem of the royal state of Volodymyr the Great, dating back all the way to the late 900s. I guess somebody described it, I guess inaccurately once, as a trident. Others have said I thought it looked like a falcon. There's some discussion because I guess Volodymyr the Great brought Christianity to Ukraine, that it could be a symbol of the Holy Trinity. I think most people today regard it as a trident. Please, anyone correct me if I'm wrong. I would love to hear. So I didn't know how to explain it, and I was glad he asked. Another World War II thing he asked me about today was what D-Day stood for. I literally had no idea. It took me by surprise that I had no idea. So not being in the military, I guess I was not familiar with this whole, D-5, D-12 as being the way you mark kind of important military dates to keep them kind of coded. And D-Day unimaginatively means day. I did not know that. Okay, on to the focus of today's show. Yay! Putin, in his desperate attempt to make the world think that he has some kind of global alliance and that he's still geopolitically relevant, which I think we can all say pretty certainly he is not. He is now reaching out to North Korea. Why? He would like to get North Korean laborers to come populate the Donbas region, to come rebuild it, while he continues to destroy the rest of Ukraine and kill all the Ukrainians. I guess he doesn't have enough Russian people that he can stuff in these war-torn places with nothing, no running water, no electricity. So, Kim Jong-un, I'm looking at you, buddy. Putin seems to think you have the most pathetic, desperate population on Earth. I don't know if that's true or not. You definitely have one of the most secretive societies in the world. But he seems to think that your people would be happy to come to a war-torn, shelled, potentially subject to offensive operations from the Ukrainians, to come with your machinery and start rebuilding Russian cities. And then I don't believe his plan is for you to stay there. I think you're going to go back to North Korea, and he's going to populate the whatever regions he can with ethnic Russians, who will be happy then to live in a place with cafes and movie theaters and running water, etc. So I wanted to just take a step back and kind of think critically a little bit about what this kind of hot alliance between North Korea and Russia really is today. Obviously, historically, North Korea had been supported by the Soviet Union for a very long time, and during its formative years, following the Korean War, described itself as a Stalinistic, Leninistic society, communist. But towards the 1970s, they started to pursue their own political ideology, again very much state centralized, communist, command economy. But more of a cult of personality around this Kim dynasty. So you have Kim Jong-il, and then we have Kim Jong-un right now. And the cult is really around Kim Jong-un's his grandfather, because I guess he's the founder of the real republic, the real North Korea. And then he is trying to follow in his grandfather and his father's footsteps and being this, horrific dictator. If you want, and again, I'll address this later, the abuses of human rights in North Korea are unspeakable. Although I can't say, because we don't know, I guess, we don't have very much information about what continues to go on. I know that I read a book about some of the concentration camps that they have there, and the labor camps that they have there, and the methods of torture and execution they have for children, pregnant women, who are there because maybe someone in their family went and visited Japan. They're off the charts. That being said, I do know that with the collapse of the Soviet Union, Kim Jong-il had been looking to the West and wanted to try to kind of work on if not a democracy, he wanted to move towards a free market economy in kind of the same way China has tacitly done. And I think the West was the West completely shut that down due to his nuclear program. So he's been kind of in limbo now for 30 years, taking whatever Russia will give him. So, he gets food and military supplies and equipment from Russia. He's very dependent on China for almost everything. Those are kind of his international relations. So interestingly, since the beginning of the war, North Korea is one of only 5 countries that has not condemned or opposed Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine in the UN. And this is markedly different than China's abstention from that vote. So North Korea, out of the gate, has been go Russia. On May 26th, something completely unprecedented in the UN happened when China and Russia used their veto power on the UN Security Council to veto a resolution that would have tightened sanctions against North Korea. And this was the first time the Council had done that after unanimously adopting all 10 of the previous resolutions since 2006. 2006 was the year that Pyongyang conducted its first nuclear test. So, North Korea has been looking at China's reluctance to actively provide political and military support to Russia during its war with Ukraine. North Korea, I think, may think this is not only an opportunity for them, but also I think it worries them that China they can't count on China for support. They have a treaty with China from, I think, 1961 that it's basically their own kind of NATO. If anyone attacks one, attacks the other. Again, that's kind of really only benefits North Korea, and they know it. So I don't think they're counting on the Chinese to jump in and save them. And if South Korea, for example, decides it wants to take the northern peninsula. Pyongyang has been very dependent on China, particularly since the talks with Donald Trump fell apart. They've become increasingly economically dependent on China since then. So I think they look at this reach out from Russia as kind of a golden opportunity for them to develop an economic relationship with a very weak, wishes it was former superpower. I think it has to be mentioned also that the people of North Korea have been suffering for a long time from severe malnutrition, lack of food, lack of medical supplies due to international sanctions. There have also been a lot of natural disasters, and COVID has hit them very hard. The military has had to release its emergency stockpiles to alleviate the situation. They've been looking to China for vaccines for the coronavirus. And it's not at all clear how and if those have been met. So North Korea is not in a great situation, not in a great position. Russia has in 2017, I think they gave them a huge amount of, I don't know if it was a cash infusion or a loan. They did that in addition to providing them with a number of weapons. So Russia may be feeling like it's sitting on an IOU. I don't know, but this past week, North Korea, of course, the isolationist communist dictatorship, did something that only very few other countries have done, and it independently recognized the 2 separatist regions of Ukraine, the self-styled People's Republics of Luhansk and Donetsk. I believe that was all it took for Ukraine to sever all ties to North Korea. Well done, Ukraine. Not a big loss. North Korea is definitely it's trying to feel out how this is going to play out and whose side it wants to be on. Putin did not go directly to Kim. This was done through an ambassador, but it was suggested that they would like to have, as I said, North Korean workers come help out rebuilding the areas of the Donbas region that they have flattened and destroyed. It seems like Kim Jong-un is on board with that, and that's not terribly surprising, given where he stands on human rights and the things that he has done to his own people. If you look at this slide, children as young as 11 are forced to work on farms and construction sites as part of the command economy that the government runs, to gathering scrap metals. He uses torture, degrading treatment, punishment, public executions, extrajudicial arbitrary detentions. Sound familiar, Putin? There is no rule of law. Sounds like Russia again. Death penalty for political reasons. Prison camps, forced labor. I note on this slide that if you haven't read The Aquariums of Pyongyang, please do. I know it's not a ringing endorsement that George W. Bush said it's the most important book of his presidency. That being said, George W. Bush times are all relative. Compared to our last president, he's freaking Abraham Lincoln. So he is actually a fairly bright man, and this is an amazing book. And if you want to better understand kind of the atrocities that not so much Kim Jong-un, but rather the dynasty from which he comes from, that they've committed against their own people, that's a very good place to start. It explains a lot about kind of these prison camps and their concentration camps all over North Korea. Looking at the next slide, I am trying to ask if Kim Jong-un realizes that this is a really insulting request. Putin got off his fucking ass, his throne in Moscow, and had to hoof it down to Tehran. He met with the supreme leader in person. He decided to purchase military drones from him. I don't believe he's offering to purchase anything from North Korea, and he hasn't bothered to come visit you. In fact, the first time you met him in 2019, I believe you had to hoof it across the Friendship Bridge, across your 11-mile border with Russia, to go meet with him. He's never come to visit you, has he? He's not buying anything from you. He's basically asking you for your people, knowing that they're probably going to starve and die. And in exchange, he's not offering you money, he's offering you food. I believe he's offering grain assistance, right? So that's again, I'm sure you need it. I'm sure that will be a big help. But I'm hoping that maybe there's a chance here again that perhaps there's some kind of diplomacy that can still be worked, where North Korea can understand that, this is the Fourth Reich, and supporting them in any way is you're going to end on the wrong side of history on this one. And this might be an opportunity for you to develop better relationships with China, Japan, South Korea, the US, Europe, as well as a lot of the kind of the South American countries that are much to President Zelensky and my own disappointment, remaining rather neutral on this. There's a lot of gray for some people on this issue that you might be able to be a part of, instead of being part of this kind of new axis of evil. I also wanted to just point out that these have been the Russo-North Korean relations for the past decade. I looked up, basically every once in a while on this 11-mile border, Russians shoot a bunch of North Korean fishermen. And classically, they say things like, "Oh, there were weapons on the ship," or it looked like they had threatening cargo, etc. And here's a look at the border. You can see it's this little tiny 11-mile long strip of land here, and again, you can see that there's this point where China, Russia, and North Korea all hit. They have I believe they call it the Friendship Bridge. And they have some kind of a monument there to it. I don't really get it, given those three, but there it is. And I'm sorry, China, because I think you're actually behaving quite decently at the moment. So, at any rate, that's kind of what I wanted to look at today. That's North Korea in a nutty nutshell. The next episode that I'm hoping to see all of you on is about Kherson. It looks like the offensive is working, and the Ukrainians are advancing. I think they are at this point maybe 15 miles away from the city. Again, I haven't checked that recently enough to say that for sure, but they are making remarkable use of all of the HIMARS and the high-tech weaponry that's been sent to them. Again, what little's been sent to them, they use it unbelievably efficiently, and it does appear that they are pushing back the Russians. Getting Kherson back would be huge. So I want to devote a whole episode to that next time. In the meantime, I will say good luck to all of those Ukrainian soldiers, warriors, the armed forces. I would like to beg the Western world and the U.S. We've been supplying Ukraine with enough ammunition to barely defend itself. I think it's time we started supplying them with enough to win. To that end, I really hope that the talks in Washington and elsewhere about fighter jets are being taken seriously, because I think that it's time to ramp up what we're supplying Ukraine so that they can start kicking ass and kick these occupiers the fuck out of their sovereign territory. So again, thank you for listening. Slava Ukraini, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.